All right. Now the reason I put this graph paper on here is because that's what we're going to do. We're going to do some graphing. So let me just change that to nothing. Let's change this a little bit. I'll keep that black. And we'll make it a little bit thicker so that you can see it a little bit better. So I'm just going to do a little, excuse me, an X and Y coordinate right there. There's X, or there's Y, I'm sorry. Now I'm going to do X, about right there. Good enough. Tell you what, let's bring this up a little bit just to make it look a little more even. Alright, does that look right? Good. Alright, what they're going to do is they're going to give you, now you got 4 problems on this worksheet. A couple of problems they give you 3 points, a couple of problems they give you 4 points. So if they give you 3 points, what you're going to do is you're going to make a triangle out of it. Alright, and they're going to give you the actual points. Alright, so here's my 3 points. It's -1, 3, -3, -1, 4, -1. I plotted the points, labeled them, and all that kind of stuff. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a triangle out of this. Because they're going to ask you to find 2 things. Right? They're going to ask you to find the perimeter of that triangle, and they're going to ask for the area of that triangle. Okay, those are 2 things that we've talked about in the last couple days. But now what we're going to do, we're putting the points along with the perimeter and area. Okay, so this is like a combination of things that we've already done, but we just haven't done it all at once in one problem. All right, so we're going to make a triangle out of this. So I'm going to connect P and Q together, P and R together, and then Q and R right there. All right, so there's your triangle. What we have to do is find the perimeter and the area. Let's just do that in red. So let's write that down. Find the perimeter. Now when I say find the perimeter, there's no like fancy formulas that we memorize for finding the perimeter. Not for a triangle anyway. If I said find the perimeter of something, or I said walk the perimeter, okay, people have said that before. What am I actually finding when I'm finding the perimeter? Just in normal words, what would I be doing? The distance, what? Around it. That's right, exactly. When we find the perimeter, and we might have mentioned this the first day we did this lesson, the perimeter means the distance around. So all I got to do is just add up the lengths of all the sides. What if they just gave me the sides and they didn't give you these points? They just gave you how long the sides are. Just add them up. Easy enough. On the worksheet, you're going to have at least 2 problems, I think, if I remember right, where they give you the lengths of all the sides. You don't have to plot it or anything. They give you a picture. They tell you what the length of every side is. So how do you find the perimeter of something if they give you all the lengths of the sides? Just add them up. That's all you do. No big deal. It's pretty easy. Some of the problems on this worksheet I'm going to give you are very easy. This one's a little bit tougher. That's why I'm doing this one for you in class. So what do we have to do here? Add up the lengths of the sides. The problem is with this is what? Don't know what that side is. Exactly right. Don't know what this side is. Don't know what this side is. Now, which one of the 3 sides do you think might be the easiest to find? The bottom one, QR. That'd probably be the easiest one. Because, look, I can just do what? I don't even have to know a formula. Michael, what do you think I'm going to do? Just count across. Exactly right. Okay, so watch. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, I'll put a little one of these dealy things here. Okay, so that length is 7 right there. Can we just count across to find the length from P to Q, though? Not if it's slanted like that, we can't. So what are we going to have to do? If I know 2 points, I want to find the length of that line segment. What do we use that we've used before? We've actually been quizzed on it. What do we use? The distance formula. Exactly right. We use the distance formula to find the distance from this point to this point. So this is good practice for us. Okay, some of you did fine with the distance formula on the last quiz. Some of you guys didn't have a clue what the distance formula is. Alright, so let's go through it again. So the distance equals, we put a big square root here. Make sure you don't forget that. Put a couple parentheses, square both of those parentheses, and add those things up. That's the distance formula. But what goes in this open parentheses right here? The x's, right. What do we do with the x's? We subtract them, we minus them. That's right, we subtract them. So let's do that. It's -1 minus 3. -1 minus 3. And then what about the this one right here? What do we do with that? Subtract the y's, right? So it's 3 minus, what's this number? -1. It's not just a 1, is it? It's a -1. So it's 3 minus -1. See the Q right there? It's -3, -1. And it will go positive, right? That's what you're saying, right? Okay? Does that make sense? That's the distance formula. Calvin, you getting all this? You writing it down? Why don't you write it down? Get a pen or pencil. Don't say maybe. You kidding me? Hurry up. Alright, let's take a look at this. Negative 1 minus 3. Let's do this in our head. Negative 1 minus 3. Add a line, change the sign. That's negative what? Negative 4. What's negative 4 squared? Is it negative or positive? It's positive. Why is it positive? Negative times negative is a positive. You got it. Okay? Calvin, you redeem yourself on that one. Alright. So, negative 4 squared is negative 4 times negative 4, which is positive 16. And then plus, let's figure out what this is. That's going to be a plus, isn't it? 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 squared is... You know what? Did I do something wrong here? Negative 1 minus... Oh, you know what I did right here? I know I did something wrong because I knew that shouldn't come out to 16. What did I do wrong? Does anybody see it? I see it. I put negative 1 minus 3. What should it have been? Because I forgot what? Well, I did that, but I put just negative 1 minus 3. It's negative 1 minus what? Negative 3. That's what I forgot. Nobody saw that? Okay. Alright, so it will be plus 3. Exactly right. So I messed up on that, which is fine. I realized my mistake. Alright, went back and fixed it. Alright, so now it's negative 1 plus 3. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. 2 squared is 4. Don't forget the square root here. 3 plus 1, that's still 4. Squared is 16. There we go. Now it looks better. And then that's square root of 20. Don't just leave it as 20. On the quiz, whether it was this class or the other class, I saw some people do this. They did all the work right. They started off with a square root sign, and then they just left it out the rest of the way, and then left your answer as 20 instead of the square root of 20. Well, that's completely wrong. The square root of 20 is like 4 point something. Okay, 20 itself is 20. That's a lot different, isn't it? 4 point something and 20. It's not even close to the same number. So make sure you realize that. So what's the length of this line right here? The square, it's not 20. It's the square root of 20. All right, so I just write it. It's not the same thing. All right, I just finished explaining it 5 seconds ago that it's not the same thing. Look at this. Let's do the same thing here. Let's do it a little faster this time. Okay, so distance equals big old square root. Put a couple parentheses, square both of the parentheses, and add them together. Subtract the x's this time, right? Negative 1 minus 4. Negative 1 minus 4. Subtract the y's. 3 minus a negative 1, just like we did before. Negative 1 minus 4 is negative 5, but I square a negative 5, which gives us 25. It's positive 25. That's a problem a lot of people have. A lot of people put negatives. You're not going to have a negative. It's going to be positive because when you square it, it's going to be positive. This is 3 minus negative 1, which is plus 1. 4 squared is 16. Add them together. Keep them under the square root. That's 41. So that's your answer. Well, that's not your final answer, but that's the length of this line segment right there, which is the square root of 41. All right? So the whole idea was to find the lengths of all 3 sides. That's what we did right there. All right, 2 of them we had to use a distance formula. This one was easy. We just had to count over. No big deal. You could have used the distance formula to find QR if you wanted to. It was just easy since it went straight across just to count. All right, if it goes straight up and down, you can just count. All right. So what do we do though? What's our answer? They're asking us to find the perimeter, aren't they? So what do I do with these 3 things in red right here? Add them all up. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to write the square root of 20 plus 7 plus the square root of 41. Now they probably don't want you leaving your answer like this. So what are we going to use to get a final answer? Use a calculator, absolutely. Okay, I got nothing against calculators as long as you use them when it's appropriate. All right. So let's do this. Square root of 20. Now in this calculator, some of you guys have a calculator that looks like this. Some have a smaller one, which is a TI-30, TI-30XA. On this calculator, you actually hit the square root button first, and you put 20. On some of the calculators, Freddie, you got one. Do you have that out? If you have a, what's that? Because you had one the other day. A calculator. I just want you to show the calculator. Why are you so defensive? I was just seeing if you had your calculator on you. All right. Well, anyway, he's got a calculator. It's a TI-30XA. He showed it the other day. All right. If you have one like that, look at Freddie's calculator. If you have one like that, listen to me. All right, stop. Now listen. Really? Listen. If you have a calculator like that, then what you would do is you'd hit the 20 first, then you'd hit the square root button. Are you listening? Freddie, you listening? Okay, we all see it now. All right. So you would hit 20 first, then the square root. On this calculator, you hit the square root first, and then the 20. Basically, if you have a calculator that's got like a big screen like this, or even a double screen, there's these TI-30. I forget what the letter is, but it's a TI-30. It's got like 2 lines. Who's got one like that? It's kind of, the buttons are kind of blue. It's not. You just have one line on there. Nate, do you have one? Yeah. Look at Nate's. It's got like 2 lines. What's the brand of that? Is it TI-30 what? Okay, X2S or something like that. XII. All right, so if you have one like that, you're going to do the buttons just like you're going to do on here. All right, it just depends on your calculator. You have to know your calculator and how it works, because different calculators, you push different buttons at different times. Okay, so on this calculator, let's turn it on again. Okay, you hit square root first. Now watch, there's the square root button. So I hit second function. Do you see that? Then I hit that button right there. It even shows me the square root. So I put a 20 in there. I don't think you have to, but I always like to close the parentheses just to make it look a little neater. Then plus what? Just a regular 7, right? It's not a square root of 7. It's just a regular 7. Plus, again, square root of 41. So how do we do square root? Second function, square root button, put a 41 in there, and I like to close the parentheses. Now look, that's all being added up, all in one shot right there. Then I just hit enter. There's my number. What if I, let's just round it to the first decimal place. What would your answer be if I just rounded to 1 decimal place? No, 18 would not be 1 decimal place. 17.9, 1 decimal place, okay? So I take that 7 rounds that 8 up to a 9. Everybody see that? So if I said to round it to 1 decimal place, it'd be 17.9. So that's what this answer is right there, 17.9. Okay? It wouldn't be wrong unless I told you to round it to a... If I told you to round it to 1 decimal place and you put 18, yeah, that would be wrong. Okay? If I don't say one way or the other, you could put 18. Listen, if I don't say it one way or the other, then if you put 17.8 or if you put 18, I'd still give it to you. But if I specifically say round it to the tenths or round it to 1 decimal place, you must write it 17.9. All right? No, that's the tenth. The tenth is this 8 right there. Okay? That first decimal place is the tenths place. All right. All right, enough of that. Let's move on with the same picture, but we're going to find something else. Let's see what color I have. Let's use this purple, this dark purple. So it says find the perimeter, and it's also going to ask you to find something else, which is the area. Okay, now it is a triangle, isn't it? Now look, I'll say something again. Now, I got nothing against the last class or anything, but listen to me. I just want to make an example. Let's not talk, please. Let's not speak out. Just listen to me. I went over this, no lie, 2 minutes after I passed the worksheet out, people are saying, oh, what's the area of a triangle? Okay, and I just taught it yesterday. I think I even taught it the class before that, and I taught it today too. People are still asking what the area of a triangle is. So let's write it down. The area of a triangle is the base times the height divided by 2. All right, it's the base times the height divided by 2, or another way you could write it, it's really the same exact thing. It's really not any different, but it's 1/2 the base times the height. Just depends which one you prefer. Me personally, I usually use this one right here, but it doesn't make any difference. Doesn't make any difference. But let's see. Look at this triangle right here, this green triangle. I've got all 3 sides, so which one of these sides do you want to call the base? Yeah, I would call the bottom one. Now watch. Listen very carefully. You could, if you wanted to, you could call this one right here the base. But where would the height be? The height would be from this point perpendicular to here, right? Because remember, the height has to be perpendicular to the base. So if I called this one the base, the height would have to go from here to here, perpendicular. Now that would be a very difficult point to find, so I wouldn't use that. You could call this the base right here, but where would the height be? From Q, perpendicular to that base. That would be hard to find. The easy one, though, is this. If I call QR the base, that's 7, what's the height? It's from where? From P, where? I've said it like 3 times already, or twice anyway. Perpendicular to the base. Let's make it a little thicker so we can see it. Okay? Does that make sense? So, Let's make it down like this. So that would be the height. That one right there is the height. They don't tell us the height, though, do they? But we can figure this one out. This is actually a pretty easy height to figure out. So what can we do? We could just count. Let's do it. That's what I would do. Watch. Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the height is 4. Everybody see that? And the base is 7. Because look, the base and the height are perpendicular to each other, aren't they? So if 7 is the base, then this purple line right here is going to be 4, and that's the height. So let's do our formula. The area of a triangle, base times height divided by 2. So the base is 7, the height is 4, and what do we do with that? Divided by 2. So you could do this a couple ways. You could just go 28 over 2, right? Or if you wanted to, you could cancel out that 2 with that 4, and you're going to get 14 either way you do it. Make sense? That's it. All right, area actually was a little easier on this one, don't you think? But you still had to find two things. You had to find the base and you had to find the height. Now, they're not going to just give you triangles. On the worksheet I'm going to give you, they give you 2 triangles and they give you 2 quadrilaterals. What's a quadrilateral? 4 sides, okay? And they might ask for the perimeter and area. Nope, you can do that on your own. I've done enough, okay? All right, sometimes you just have to do things on your own. And I've given you enough. Shh, listen. Listen. I've given you enough information here to be able to do those problems, okay? I've given you plenty. I will just review really quick, so I don't have to answer this question 100 times today. They do give you a circle. It's not that hard. We talked about this yesterday, okay? So here's a circle. Oops, don't want 2 circles. Forgot to change to my line tool. What is that? What is that length right there? That's the radius, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, we get it. I understand the joke. Okay. Look, let's say that was 5, and you're going to find the circumference. It is the same thing as a perimeter, except on a circle, for some reason, they give special names to circles. This is the same thing as the perimeter, but I can't just add up all the sides, can I? Because there is no sides to a circle. I need a formula. Do you remember what it is? No, it's not squared. It's 2 pi r. Circumference is just the distance around it. It's 2 pi r. There's nothing being squared here. When do we square things? When we're finding the what? The area. We square things when we find the area. So area of a circle, let's just write the whole word down. The area of the circle is what? What's the formula? Pi r squared. Pi r squared. So that's the formula for area. This is the formula for circumference. Every single circle, it's always pi r squared. Okay. The only thing that could change on a circle is the radius, right? Circle's still going to be the same shape. Or if it's not a circle anymore. Okay. Then it's not a circle. That's way more complicated. Don't even want to ask about that. It's really, really complicated. Okay. But on a circle, it's pretty simple. So that's what we're doing right there. Now you should have these things memorized. But I told you before, on the quiz and the test, if I ask you to find the area of a circle or area of a circumference of a circle, I'll give you the formulas. But you really should know these. I mean, these were taught to you way before you ever came into this class. All right. Well, now you should. Now's the time to learn it. All right. Enough of that. Let me give you the worksheet, and I'll give you the rest of the time to work on that worksheet.